Are university vice-chancellors against free higher education? Why are universities calling for a minimum 8% fee increase for 2017? Why have universities become increasingly reliant on tuition fees? How best can the sliding scale method be explained? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Following the fees must fall protest by university students last year, higher education fees have become a key national issue. Due to the urgency of the matter, President Jacob Zuma set up a commission to look into the feasibility of a fee-free higher education. While students are adamant that a 0% fee increase is possible, university vice-chancellors are saying without an 8% increase of fees for next year, most higher learning institutions will collapse. While public hearings of the Fees Commission are underway, Higher Education Minister Dr. Blade Emmanuel Nzimande is set to make an announcement by month end after consulting with key stakeholders. But is a fee-free higher education likely to be introduced next year? We are live. If you can call us and hear your views, the numbers to dial is 089-110-4210. My guest today is Professor Habib. He's the Vice-Chancellor at the Wits University, but he's here in his capacity as Chairman of Universities of South Africa. So we'll be taking your calls. Give us your thoughts there. Prof, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
The impression that has been created is this rectors or Vice-Chancellors are just greedy. The 0% is possible, it should be maintained, they just want us to pay.
So let me say a couple of things. Firstly, Vice-Chancellors have not said that we should have an 8% fee increase. We said 8% income increase.
Okay.
So whether that comes from fees or whether that comes from a national treasury in a subsidy, that's different. What we said, in fact, when the NEC of the ANC said that they called for a 0%, I said publicly that we support the 0% provided the national treasury makes up the 8% income increase that is there. So that's the real challenge. So we didn't ask for a fee increase. We're not opposed to 0% fees provided somebody else makes up the income. So here's the issue. Firstly, let me say that in any society somebody pays for higher education.
Correct.
Whether it's the tax man, through SARS and through the National Treasury, or whether people pay it themselves. But somebody has to pay for lights, water, the salaries, etc. And so the real issue, the real debate is who pays for it, not whether it's whether it's students or whether it's system. That's the real debate. The second issue is whether I like it or not. There is a certain cost structure that is required to keep good universities on the continent of Africa. And somebody has to pay for that.
Yeah.
Until now, what is happening for the last 20 years is government subsidy has been declining for over 20 years. And the way that universities manage that decline of the government subsidy is by increasing student fees. And so when students say that this is unsustainable, they're absolutely right. Which is why I've publicly said I support and I think the students have a legitimate case around high fees. But the real issue is if the students demand 0% fee increase, then the state has to make it up. Because if they don't make it up, we'll start destroying higher education in this country. So let me give you the cost structures so that you ask the cost structures. Next year, we'll have a 6.3% increase in inflation.
Yes.
That's not my calculation. That's done by Statistics South Africa. Then there is a 1.7% increase or 2% increase as a result of research equipment that we buy in dollars or euros, or all library holdings, the journals, the books, we buy in dollars or euros. Now the reason we buy it in dollars or euros is because these are international companies, and effectively, in the last 3 years, the rand-dollar exchange went against the rand 20%, 25%. That translates in overall costs between 1.7 to 2%. That's not my calculation. That's the Council for Higher Education and Training. That takes us to 8%. Then, in the beginning of this year, there was a demand that we insource vulnerable workers. People were paid badly, and we had to insource them. That was a demand by students. It was a demand by some academic staff. And to be fair, the people were paid badly. When we insource them in Wits University, it will cost 120 million additional per annum. Now that's another 3%. So effectively, we got an 11% increase in cost structures. We've said we can't ask for 11. So at the moment, at this very moment, we are currently considering 150 million rand worth of cuts in Wits University. And therefore we say that what we require is an 8% income. If you give us less than that, effectively what we're doing is not making 150 million cuts. We'll end up making 180 or 200 million cuts. That's the problem.
Nzimande, welcome.
Thank you, Mpo. There's one issue that I don't understand about treasuries. Maybe Professor Habib can help. You see, if you look at Tegis, University of Pretoria, or Bochinji, Voslogelo, University of Venda, University of the Northwest, they look very much dilapidated. So if maybe the money that they get, the subsidy that they were getting throughout the years is the same for all universities, how is it that Delare here in University of Pretoria can build, like if you go to it, she built two or three residential. They look like hotels. But TNG or Togelo, the residential areas, they look dilapidated. Why is it that if they get the same funding, but they are totally different when you look at them?
But they are not getting the same amount of money, Tumile.
Okay. But how can the other TUTs or universities have this beautiful environment and then residential areas, but the others can't? What is happening? That is one thing that I every day ask myself, but I don't know. I don't have an answer for.
Okay, let's hear what Prof said.
So I think that there's two parts to that question. The first is obviously all of our institutions have a different inheritance from the past. So historically black universities were not invested in by the apartheid state. Historically white universities had a lot of investment from the apartheid state. And so when we entered into 1994, we had a differential infrastructure in many of these institutions, and you saw it. You see it even today. So part of this has got to do with history. And then part of it's got to do with the way the formula works. There's a particular formula that the national state has, and it defines, part of it is for infrastructural grants and historical redress. Part of it is for the numbers of students that come in. Part of it is for the numbers of students you graduate. Part of it is for students in health sciences get more money, and sciences get more money than students in humanities. And so it depends in your university how many humanities students are, whether you have a medical school, what historical past comes, and all of that begins to address why you have certain kinds of infrastructure in some places and another. But there is an attempt to try and address this and correct this.
John, you are in Cape Town.
Yes, Mpo. Good day, man. I wanted really to say I don't think we are handling this education story completely, because we are starting on universities when we have got the kids in grade 1 to 7 and up learning under the trees, and there's no one advocating for them to get good quality education at that level. And we are promising these kids to say, when you get to university, that's when you'll get free education. I don't think that this is a very good reflection of ourselves. If we need to look at education, free education, let's look from the primary going upwards and give these kids free education, which is quality. Then at least they'll have better access to universities and all those places. And what I would like to ask Mr. Habib is, does this university also, does it have the reserves which people talk about? And what is the reserves really, if they can be available? And also, with all what we need to know as South Africans, someone has to pay for school fees. So as students asking the government to prioritize school and neglect all the other challenges in government.
Okay, John, thanks very much, Prof.
So I think there's two things that are getting raised there. The first is, I think the stress, and I appreciate that, is the stress for quality education. We don't want to repeat what has happened to primary and secondary education, where you create access and then you give people a shoddy education.
Yes.
That's not fair. Poor people are as entitled to a quality education as the rich people are. So I think the quality is important, and we must always remember that. Don't land up sacrificing quality. That's what happened in the rest of the continent. When we declared free education in the rest of the continent, the government never gave the money and the universities collapsed. And rich people take their children and go overseas, and poor people get stuck with low quality education. That was what we must not repeat in South Africa. The second thing that was raised, and I think it's an important point, is what trade-offs are we prepared to have? So there is a demand for free education at universities. But what about early childhood development? Because all of the research shows that if you miss the children there between 5 and 7, you've lost them permanently. Should we not have early childhood development there? What about good quality primary and secondary education? And how do we make those trade-offs about where we put all of the money at this moment? Okay. That's the question that I think needs to happen.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll take your calls. The number to dial is 089-110-4210. Are you a student? Are you a student leader? Are you an academic, a poor parent, or just a parent who's concerned about what is going to happen next year? Well, Prof. Habib is here. Let's talk to him. 089-110-4210. We shall return.
Do you need a funeral policy?
Joy is found in the little things. Ke ho phedisa, ho fepa le ho hodisa.
Ukuba ibone ukuvela kwethuba lalokho okungenzeka.
In being there when one journey ends and another begins.
'n Idee van die klein dingetjies wat kosbare herinneringe word.
Life is the gift of growing new memories each day.
So that our loved ones can preserve them after we are no longer here.
Life is a gift to us.
Since 1918, AFBOB has comforted and supported South African families in their time of need.
Protecting their loved ones' memories with respect and dignity.
Plus, committed and trusted funeral representatives with more than 250 branches nationwide.
There for you every hour of every day.
AFBOB provides a complete funeral service solution for everyone, even if you're not an AFBOB policyholder.
Make sure your family comes first. Always. AFBOB, we're here for you.
If you would like AFBOB to call you about a new policy, SMS family and your name to 41790.
You see this, but you feel this. You see this, but this is what you feel. You don't see this, but it feels something like this. And this is what you drive. The Audi A4 110 kilowatt Sport from only 5,999 per month, and we'll cover almost 3/4 of the deposit. We'll pay for the dream so you can drive the reality.
It's Macro's 45th Big Birthday Bash, and our gift to you is big savings. Get the Samsung 55-inch Smart SUHD TV for only 16,999, save 5,000 Rand. Or the Russell Hobbs stainless steel food processor, only 899, save 700 Rand. And save 500 Rand on the Tefal 7-piece non-stick cookware set, now only 999. Get these and many other great deals in-store and online with Macro's Big Birthday Bash. Macro, big on life.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is Professor Habib. He's the chairperson of the University of South Africa. That's a body of vice-chancellors or rectors, as they used to be called. Now, Prof, what is going to happen if government says we're not increasing the fees and we are not able to fund this 8% shortfall?
Then the decline of the universities begins. That's what the effect is. Now, I'm not doing this to frighten people, but I don't want it said that when I was at the helm of Wits University, that I didn't warn the nation, or that all the other vice-chancellors didn't warn the nation about what the consequences are. I'm saying very clearly and openly, I am supportive of free education, but I'm supportive of free quality education. And if you're going to be supportive of free quality education, then government has to make up the money. There are two places on how you fund education in this country. One is either fees, or the other is the government subsidy. When the government subsidy declines, the fees go up. When the fees go down, the government subsidy must increase. If both decline, the quality of the institution is going to collapse. And when that quality collapses, we won't be producing the professionals we require, we won't be producing the research we require, and we won't be producing and being able to address inequality in the society. Those universities are fundamental to addressing poverty and inequality. And so all role plays, whether it's the private sector, whether it's the students, whether it's the vice-chancellors, and whether it's the government itself, must recognize that they need to be adequately funded if they're going to achieve their purpose.
Joseph, you are in Mpumalanga.
Yebo mnumzane.
Baba.
Kunjani futhi?
Ngiyaphila njani baba?
Ngiyaphila. Nginengane mina ngangazi noma mhlambe kubalekile ekutheni ukuthi ngibuze mhlambe njengoba mina ngingumzali ngingasebenzi then nginomntwana nokuya university waphasa ngo-D. So ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi mhlambe sazama ukuya kuma institute lawe government but
ukuboleka imali
sekugcwele.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so bengifuna ukwazi ukuthi ngenze njani because of umntana wami usafuna ukuchubeka yaye phambili mina nginamali ngisebenza.
Okay, why ufunde kumapha ama subjects?
Nathi lapho ngingazikhona because of akekho manje but waphasa ngo-D.
Okay.
Yeah.
So buzu Prof la.
All right.
Thanks very much, Joseph. They were saying basically he's got a personal case there. His child, I don't know whether it's a girl or a boy, got a D exemption, and he doesn't know where to go. Are there chances where they can apply for admission? Because it would appear that's the route the child wants to take.
So if he wants to go, she wants to go to a university, then they must apply to the universities that they need. They need to understand firstly what program they want, because a lot of people just apply, come to a university. We have, 5,000 programs. So what they should be figuring out is what they want to do, and then look at which universities offer that, and then apply to the university to be able to do that. One of the things is worth bearing in mind is that it's incredibly competitive to get into university. So let me just tell you, at Wits University, we will have in 2017 90,000 applications for 5,500 places. That's how they say.
First year entrance.
First year entrance. Wits University will have 9,000 applications next year for 200 places in medicine. So that's only at Wits. Can you imagine how many these things? I can tell you universities like DUT, etc., have 90,000 applications. So there's a huge demand to get it. And there's two sets of issues we need. Firstly is what the Minister of Higher Education has been saying. What we need is to offer multiple options so that everybody doesn't think that university is the only option.
Yeah.
So we have to have our universities, we have to have professional training colleges, we need vocational colleges, we need multiple options. Any society in the world, whether it's Germany or the United States, offers multiple post-secondary options. What we have is not enough of the others, and we need to produce them so that we can. That's the first thing that we need to do. But we also need more institutions. We need more options for our people.
Dadiaji, you are welcome.
Gentlemen, hey, how are you?
I'm well. Thanks for the call.
I'm putting it to you, ne?
Yes.
that Professor next to you there.
Yes.
They've got a double agenda as the university.
Okay.
They will go to a corner with the government and talk about the financial issues, but thereafter, the universities and the principals, they will stay in the corner and say they don't have money, and they don't even tell us about the products they are producing, so that now they may lead us and point fingers at the government and say, let the government bring money. I don't see the alliance between the government and the universities working well. And on the other hand, what happened to the finances of the apartheid era universities? I thank you.
Okay, but she's gone. I would have really liked to know if what he's saying is factual. Is there any collusion here, Prof?
So, there's a lot of loose talk. I mean, to be honest, we need a public engagement. But people can't just think up something in their head and make it up as they want. You must have some evidence for things. When you make an allegation that I'm colluding with Jacob Zuma, put some evidence on the table. So here's the thing. If you look at the reserves we have, all of this is, by the way, available. It's available. I have to make it available once a year to the Department of Higher Education and Training. I release on our website our entire financial statements, including how much we have in reserves. So anybody wants to check, Google it, go into the website, you'll pick it all up. We have 450 million rand in our foundation. 450 million rand. It costs us for to run the university, not the whole group because we have companies and all, but to run the university alone costs us 3.5 billion. That's 300 million rand a month. 450 million in reserves. I got 1 month, just 1.5 months worth of reserves. By the way, that's not WITS. Go to UCT, that's similar. Go to. There are 1 or 2 other universities that do have bigger endowments. Pretoria, Stellenbosch, UJ. But even at those institutions, they've got commitments to make. They have to pay pensions. They have to pay medical aid. They've got all of those things. So people see some money and say, that's free money. The Department of Higher Education and Training has done an analysis that showed we do not have the reserves that people believe exists. So please, let's be clear. Nobody is running at a profit. There is no profit that we run at. What we have to be, and what's my responsibility to be, is to be financially sustainable. So I don't bankrupt the place. And that's what I have to look at. But that's all available on our website.
Let's look at our tweets. And Mlatlhe Khaile says fees are stubborn to fall because there's no political will from the ruling party to make them fall. Viva Free Education. Olani Ngwegazi says, why doesn't varsities ask for sponsorship from private companies? We'll talk about that just now briefly. Law, let free education be introduced. Our government can afford free quality education. Let's talk about the role of the corporate sector here.
So, again, I'll give you numbers.
Yeah.
So we get about 600 million, 650 million a year for the university and scholarships, sponsorships, and all of the other things. That's where we get something. So we do get private sector. Last year, in research funds, we raised 2.2 billion. 2.2 billion on a budget of 3.5. That's the point. Now the question you have to ask, and a large amount of that is spent on simply research. They've given the money for research, so they want you to do A, B, C, D, E. You can't use that money for something else. It has to be for the research that they want. But here's the issue. We raise in proportional terms one of the highest amounts of money from the corporate sector in proportional terms. So you compare us to German universities, or you compare us to French universities or other universities. We raise some of the largest amount of money. My apologies.
Okay. Well, anyway, that is our call. We have run out of time. I guess that was your alarm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the time, Prof. And all the best. I don't imagine this is really, child's play.
No, it's a difficult time.
Sure. But that was question time. Have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.